Um, why is it important that the pilots, really the pilots, when we get into talking about airlines, the pilots are going to be doing our weight and balance and preparing the load manifest. But why do you think it's important that we do a proper and thorough weight and balance?
Because it all having a proper weight and balance. You don't want anything to go wrong while you're trying to take off. You don't want anything to knock out of place.
Okay.
Does that have anything to do with how much fuel you need?
Um, yeah, that's a factor.
I would probably say fuel.
Well, that's a weight and balance are two separate issues, but the weight, of course, you have performance limitations for various flight conditions and takeoff and landing, and then the balance is, if not more important, to if you get after CG, you could be in a very impossible to control airplane, and a little too nose heavy, you might not be able to maneuver.
Yeah. So it definitely affects the performance of the aircraft.
Kind of like that video that we watched yesterday. It talks about where you need to pay attention to when loading an aircraft.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important because um, when a aircraft has improper weight and balance, if say the weight is too far aft or too far forward, um, say it's too far forward, well, it's going to be, you may get a better cruise performance, but at the same time, it's a lot harder to maneuver the aircraft. The controls are going to be a lot more sluggish. Um, your takeoff speeds are going to be a lot higher. Um, whereas aircraft that has more weight in the back, you're going to have problems with stall speeds. You're going to have problems with cruise performance. It's really going to dramatically impact your fuel. Um, but here's I want you guys to watch this video. It's a little hard to watch, knowing what's going on, but um, this is kind of an extreme case of what happens when weight and balance goes out of whack in an aircraft.
We're about to watch a bunch of people die, aren't we?
No, not.
Oh, okay.
Mm, so it's an aircraft crash, but
Yep.
but it happened in Afghanistan. We'll talk about it. Um,
Oh yeah, I know this. I think we talked about it a
yeah, we
couple
kind of
like 3 weeks ago.
we kind of talked about it, but um, we're gonna watch the video. Um, there was only, I think there was three three people on board, 3 or 6 people on board. I can't remember. Um, but everybody, turn that on. We'll watch the video and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. All right. Did everybody get the chance to see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what happened in this particular aircraft accident?
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a Boeing 747 civilian cargo. They flew in to pick up a couple of tanks, M1 Abrams or M1A1 Abrams tanks. Each one of those tanks weigh approximately 65,000 pounds or 65 tons. Sorry, pretty heavy. And what happened was one of the tanks wasn't strapped or secured properly to the aircraft in the aircraft, and shortly after they lifted off the ground, the tank broke loose. When they're flying out of the air bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, especially, they have to do max performance takeoffs and they're pretty violent. Basically, they have to take off, go into a really steep climb, and then circle as they climb. And it's basically to avoid any ground fire or anything that could possibly happen on the ground. And so they went into that steep climb. The tank broke loose in the back and shifted all the weight into the back, which caused the aircraft to go into a stall. And when you're that low to the ground, there's just no way to recover from that. And so weight and balance, if not done properly, even though we wouldn't expect something, all of our passengers to all of a sudden get up and run to the back of the aircraft or something on takeoff or landing, we still need to make sure that our aircraft is within the weight and balance tolerances of the tolerances that have been set by the manufacturer. So, it's beneficial in more than one way. Like we kind of talked about, it will help with our performance. It will help with our cruise, our speeds, just the overall ability to control the aircraft and things like that. So it's pretty integral part of each flight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the worksheets that help us do this weight and balance, and we're going to get a pretty good understanding. I'll have you guys even practice on one or two of them, but yeah, let's get started. So, oops.
You said we're on weight and balance?
Yes.
While you're pulling that up, I probably a month into my flight training, I had two flight instructors because they kind of augmented schedules, and one of them had over 5,000 hours and very experienced older guy, and he was killed due to weight and balance with a student coming out of Ogden Canyon. So
really,
he had active CG, and we had just had that lesson, active CG weight and balance lesson. And ironically, the student had done the weight and balance, and he didn't do his, I guess, maybe due diligence on it, but it was well active CG.
Oh my gosh.
They were trying to outclimb some downdraft and gave a little too much stick, and with aft CG, he stalled almost immediately. So he stalled and spun right down, caught the phone wires and flipped it onto the freeway and exploded. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah, it's deadly. Very aft CG is a Guaranteed way to die.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's pretty serious. All in all, I'm trying to download this to where I can basically write on it. So give me 1 second.
Incidentally, the other instructor that I had, ironically now, is the ground instructor for SkyWest, has been forever. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's. I couldn't even imagine. It's.
But that's exactly what happened to his airplane. You just get that FCG and your tail just becomes useless.
Yeah.
You can't position your nose relative to the wind, and it's over.
Yeah. That's a serious problem, and that's why we've got to be very, very cognizant of our of how we do it and how we treat this part of flight planning. Like I said before, we're not gonna. You're more than likely you're not going to be doing any weight and balance once you actually become a certified dispatcher. But we need to know how to do the weight and balance. Pilots call up. There's times where, like in the ERJ, where pilots will call up and they'll be like, "I need help figuring out how to fill out this weight and balance sheet," and we have to go through and help them and be able to explain it to them. So it's important to know how to do it because we need to understand the impact that it has, and then also we have to be able to explain it and help the pilot. So this is the excuse me. This is the weight and balance form. Load manifest. So things to point out. This is the section of the weight and balance chart, and I would like you guys to go into today's folder and pull up the weight and balance forms and print, if you have the ability to print off a couple real quick, at least during break, and then kind of follow along. But I'm going to go through, explain it, and then we'll take a 10-minute break. That'll give you guys time to print it off, and then yeah. But so this is the load manifest. Over on this left side, we have an average bag weight. So what happens is SkyWest or any airline, they'll take and basically over the course of 2 years, we'll just take a running average of bag weights and also passenger weight, basically. Now, we're not going to weigh everybody coming onto the aircraft, but there's information that's collected when you buy the ticket. A lot of people use their driver's licenses and things like that to check into their flight passports. It all has your weight on there. And so there's ways to get the information, and it's just a general they just got to be close, basically, right? And they've got to be able to describe to the FAA how they get these weights. But I believe SkyWest uses a 2-year running total, and they'll just take an average bag. Each bag weighs 30 pounds, when loaded in the cargo underneath. So this is your carry-on baggage. and so the pilot can come over to this chart and they can say they'll get a number from the ramp agent that he'll bring up, and he'll say, there's 50 bags loaded in the aft compartment, and then there's 30 bags loaded in the forward compartment. And that's what the pilot will use. They actually use the ACARS to do the weight and balance. So just another FYI. But so here's where we find our average bag weight. What we'll do is we'll get, I'll tell you how many bags are going to be on the aircraft. You just have to find the number in the left hand side of the column, and then the right hand side is the poundage. So if there's 67 bags, you come to 67. There's your weight. So 2,010 pounds. This section here, you guys don't need to fill out any of this. That's more just, information that is found everywhere else on the flight plans that you guys will be doing. So this isn't so much of a need to fill out, but this is where we put our passengers. So we'll give you an amount of adults and children. Does anybody remember how many people the CRJ seats?
The 200, I believe, is 50, and the 700 is 70.
Okay. Everybody agree?
Oh yeah, it says so on the top.
Yep. So, yeah, it says it right there. 70 passengers. So basically we'll count up the amount of adults and the amount of children and put the total down here. Infants, we don't take any weight penalty for them. So lap kids, there's no weight hit. So we put the number here, and then we'll transfer over what that equates to in weight. Now, over here in passenger weights, you can see a summer weight, and then you can see the date range. This is 5/1 to 10/31. So May 1st to October 31st, the average person weighs 190 pounds. Now in the winter, you're looking at the date range of November 1st till April 30th, and the average person weighs $195 because we eat a lot of turkey during the holidays. So that's kind of why they add 5 pounds or whatever. I don't know. Just
Makes perfect sense to me.
yeah, got to get that winter coat on.
It's the only time you can.
That's right. But yeah, we'll use this the same way that we use the bag weights. This is the number of passengers, and then this is the weight. So right now we still fall into this winter weight. So say we had 40 passengers. 40 passengers equals 7,800 pounds. Down here with kids, this is where we see the children weight. During the summer, the average kid weighs 82 pounds, and during the winter, the average kid weighs 87 pounds. Infants 2 years and younger are 0 pounds, like we discussed before. So basically, we'll just take the number of adults, transfer them over, number of children, transfer them over, and then run the total. Now, if you just follow this arrow, it takes you down to this line. and that's where you'll fill out the weight here. It says weight there. Transfer the weight across here, and then our index we have to find out on this form. This is what we call a pin card. And this, Jordan, if you remember, this is what I was asking if you had filled out before for the captain. I know on every one of our SkyWest flights we fill out a pin card, but
Yeah, I've seen the SkyWest flight attendants do it quite a few times, but I've never done it myself.
okay. The gate agent probably fills it out, or it's just all automated. I don't know. When they assign seats, but basically all we do is we write the number of adults we have, number of children, number of infants. Infants, once again, we don't count at all when we're doing this. So it'd just be the number of adults and children that count here. Here you can see each of the rows divided up into sections here. So we call rows 1 to 3 Zone A, 4 to 6 Zone B, 7 to 9 Zone C, 10 to 12 Zone D, 13 to 15 Zone E, and then 16 to 18 Zone F. This also tells us the max amount of passengers we can have in each one of those zones. So 12, 12, 12, all of them are 12 except for Zone F, 10 passengers. So we'll use this, we'll write this down, write the number of passengers down in each one of these, and then bring our total down here. Now to find the index, we use this sheet here. This is our passenger index table. And then all we do is say we had 12 passengers in zones A through D, and then 8 passengers in E and F. So we'd go number of passengers, 12, Zone A, 19.2. We come back up here to the pin card, and we put 19.2. You can see that this is positive and negative right here. So we can't have a positive number. We can't have an negative number in these two zones. So we just follow this along. We have 12 in Zone A, 12 in Zone B, 12 in Zone C, 12 in Zone D, and then 8 in Zone E and 8 in Zone F. So we transfer those numbers up to here and put those numbers in this index. Then we just bring them down, bring down the total right here for the negative numbers, then the positive numbers. Then we just take this positive number box and we slide it under here, and do the math there to give us our total index. Don't worry, I'll start writing in it. We'll go through one, but yeah. So once we have that information, we'll put our index that we come up with in here. This bow weight, does anybody remember what bow stands for?
It's not below operating weight.
Nope.
It's before. Oh gosh, dang it! Is the B stand for before? Oh, basic operating weight. Okay.
Yep. So we come to this basic operating weight index. We're actually going to use, these are actual SkyWest aircraft, CRJ700s. And this data is really old. I mean, it's all all the SkyWest info and stuff is erased off of it. It's not current, but basically these are actual SkyWest tail numbers. We go to the tail number that we are given on our flight plan. So let's say 754 SK. We take, this is our operating weight and this is the index. We'll just put it here, the weight and then the index. Just like the other card, we would just add these numbers up. So once we get our cargo, we can see how many bags we have, transfer that weight and index over here as well, and then run our totals. That gives us our max zero fuel weight. Now, what was the max zero fuel weight of the CRJ 700?
It's
62.3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if you forget, look at that. It's right there on the chart.
Nice.
So basically, we'll run our numbers here. We'll get a zero fuel weight index here. Then once we figure out that information, we'll figure out how much fuel we're going to burn on our trip. Once we've come up with that, we just add it together. That gives us our takeoff weight. What's the max takeoff weight of the CRJ 700?
£75,000.
Yep, right there. Max takeoff weight, 75,000 pounds. So once we get all that information in our index here, we would just take that information. This is our weight on this side. This is the index number. So weight, index number. And we would just go to our weight, come over here, mark it, bring our index up, mark it. And as long as we're within this envelope here, then we would be good to operate the flight. Now, just as important as it is to be within weight and balance on our takeoff, it's also important to be within weight and balance on our landing as well. So here's our max landing weight, 67,000 pounds. So we would do the same calculation, but we just have what fuel we don't burn, what fuel is still going to be in the tank when we land. Because if you remember, how we calculate fuel is our burn, alternate, reserve, and hold fuel, right? Bar H. So that being said, if we put our burn off and then we don't have an alternate, so there's zero fuel for that, we still have hold and contingency fuel that we're technically should still be on board once we land, because those are backup, right? So if we make it to the destination and there's absolutely no weather, we get there in time, there should still be contingency fuel and hold fuel on the aircraft. And in that case, we would just put that number here, that fuel that's left over, find the index for that fuel, and recalculate we would just basically turn this to landing weight and figure out our landing weight and index. Once we figured that out, we just transfer it over the same exact way. So that just kind of gets you guys familiar with the chart. Just a super quick crash course on the basics of this weight and balance chart. Let's take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we'll fill one out, and I'll walk through it with you. So if you do have a printer, please print a couple copies of this out and follow along with me at home, and that way we can stay on the same page. So,
I got an issue. I mean, my roommate's computer, I'm not set up to her printer, and I'm trying to see if she can get home. So
that's
how am I supposed to?
Just take good notes. Just kind of draw it out on the on your sheet of paper, and just take good notes on how we're figuring this stuff out until you can get a piece of paper. We're going to do a lot of these, so don't feel like you have to completely understand it tonight. But we're going to do 2 or 3 examples of this tonight. So if you can't print it out, please just draw it out on your piece of paper. Take really good notes on how we're figuring this out. So
Garrett, just copies of the first page.
actually, all 4 pages.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You'll only need this second page once probably, but pages 1, 3, and 4. Actually, you won't need this 4th page either. So 1 and 3, you'll need for every flight. So.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So let's take a 10-minute break. Get back on at let's just say 6:20. All right, is everybody back?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so like we said before, we're gonna do a quick weight and balance. I'm gonna show you guys how we do this, and then you guys will um, get to do one and try to do one by yourselves. So follow along as best as you can, and if you have it printed out, um, just do it with me. So first of all, we're going to get a amount of adults and children. So we're going to do 52 adults this flight. Okay. So with 52 adults, we're going to have to come over here and find, once again, we're going to use this column for our winter weights. Okay. Then we're going to go down to 52 adults. That's going to be our it's going to be the weight that we transfer over. So that puts us at 10,140.
Garrett, you're writing as though you're a kindergartner with crayons.
Yeah, kind of hard with the mouse.
Left-handed.
Yeah, especially when the mouse is gigantic right now, and I can't really tell at what point it starts and ends. So now we're gonna put an amount of kids. We're gonna have 8 kids. Okay. So we use the winter weights from down here for our kids. Hold on, just 1 minute. Sorry.
How many children did Garrett say there was?
8.
8. Okay.
All right. So to find that number out, we're just gonna use our calculator. Let's see. I'm not that good at math.
696.
Okay. So then we'll just take the total and bring it down here. That's 60 passengers. And then what's the, who wants to do that math? 10,000, 8 something. 836, I think.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. We'll take that number. We're not going to have any infants this flight. We'll just transfer it over here. 10,000, 836. Okay. Now we need to find out the base operating weight and the index of the aircraft we're going to use. My numbers are going to stay with it here when we move down. Just try to see past them. So we're going to use this 764 Sierra Kilo. Our base operating weight is 44,803.
Does it say 44,803?
Yes. Then our index is 71.3. Okay.
Sorry, what did you say that was again?
71.3. So we'll come down here. We're using 764 Sierra Kilo. Our base operating here is 44,803 pounds, and then our index is 71.3 pounds.
Sorry, I'm writing as I go, so sometimes I'm missing them as I look up.
You're fine. Okay, now we're going to figure out our passengers here. So we've got 52 adults. 52 adults. We've got 8 children and no infants. We're just going to kind of distribute these out. So let's kind of front load the plane here. We'll just go 10 all the way down, just to make it easy. Okay. So we would put our numbers in like that, and then we would come down here and find out what that translates to. So we have 10 in each one of these sections, right? So I'm just guessing here. I'm just going to do it so I don't have to scroll up and down, but we've got 16.0 here. Got 11.5. And these are negative. 7.1. Negative 2.6. Then it goes positive 2.4 and 6.8. Okay. Let's see if I got it right. Oh, not
Can I ask, so as far as the index goes, it doesn't matter if they're adults or children, they're counted the same.
correct.
Okay.
So
Can you stay on that just for like a couple seconds? I need to copy that down. I'm a little fast.
this
Hey,
part,
Garrett, how did you get those numbers, the 16.0? I know that as soon as you tell me, I'll be able to see it.
right? So we counted up how many passengers we had.
Yeah.
And then we distribute them out through these zones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So zone A, we have 10 passengers. So we would come down to this chart here. And I highlighted the line that we're looking at. So each one of our zones had 10 passengers in it.
perfect.
So
I see
zone
it now.
A,
Thank
B,
you.
C, D, E, and F. And we just take those numbers there. That gives us our index for each one of the zones.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have any questions on that, or?
Can you scroll up to the zones? I need to copy those down. Thanks.
Yep. So I tried to imagine where the boxes would be, so it's off a little bit. I guess I could put them where they need to be.
So in your form here, I'm not familiar with the CRJ 700, obviously. So the plus and minus index is just indicating forward or aft of the CG index, right? So that's why it's shifting it to your positive column.
Yeah. So our center of gravity is somewhere between rows D and E, and that's
Right.
why we have that switch. This isn't good.
So it's,
I'm gonna have to erase like the whole thing in order to. Oh man. So everybody, make sure that somebody write down all this information that we have so far, because I'm gonna have to erase it all in order to transfer it. So we take our totals down to here on the bottom. That gives us 60 passengers. Does somebody want to do all the negative numbers and give me the total?
Negative 37.2.
Okay, 37.2. Somebody give me the positive numbers. It's like a 9.2 or something.
It's
Right,
exactly
9.2.
9.2.
Okay. Then all we do is we take that 9.2 and put it under here so we can do our math. And what does that come out to? What, 26 or 28?
28, yeah. 28.
So it's a negative 28 for our index here. 0.0. Okay. Does everybody see how we got those numbers? You can just ignore these ones here.
here, just a point of an example. The NTSB, the accident investigation on the instructor that was killed, this is where the mistake was made. What he did is he lost sight of his signs, back to good old algebra days. Don't ever lose track of your signs.
Oh,
So when he thought he was well forward of the moment, he was to the rear of it because he lost his signs, or swapped his signs.
oh man. Yeah, that'll
And it
do it.
was, as you'll see when you give your example, these guys will see it's a massive difference. It throw you way aft if you're using that same number. So anyway,
Yeah.
just a entry.
For sure. I mean, we'll show them what happens when we switch this sign up top here. So does everybody have those numbers?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to erase them up here. So we just take those numbers and we plug them in here. So was anybody able to print this sheet out?
No, not yet.
No, but I'm jotting them all down in my notebook.
Oops. Is that a no?
I have it.
You've got it printed out?
Yeah, I've been going along on it.
Okay. I'm going to rely on you to tell me the numbers here.
know.
So that's where we'd remember, make sure that you don't switch the signs up. We had a negative 28 on our index, okay? Let me erase this really quick and we'll go back and fill it in again. Okay, adults, we had 52 adults, 8 children, for a total of 60 passengers. Okay, what were the weights again?
10,140 for adults.
10,140.
Yeah. 696 for the children. For a total of 10,836.
Okay,
And BOW is 44,803.
and this was 70.
1.3.
Okay, and we take this number down here, 10,836, and negative 28.0. Okay, so as you can see, I put it in the appropriate section, right? Positives and negatives. Positive column, negative column. All right, so now let's put some bags on. Let's just say that we put on 50 bags in the front and 50 bags in the back and 10 bags in the front. So what we're going to do here to figure out those numbers, here's our 50 for our bag weight, and then here's our 10. Okay. So 50 bags in the front, or in the back, comes to 1,500 pounds. And then in the front, that comes to 300 pounds. Okay, now to figure out the index, we come to this section here. This tells us our cargo aft, and then here's the cargo forward. So in the aft compartment, we had 1,500 pounds of bags. So we would come down here, and this is where we do what's called interpolate. The FAA loves to say interpolate, right? So,
Interpolate.
yep. So we're going to
Yep.
basically come up with our own number here that identifies what that is, because we don't have 1,500 on here. We've got 1,470 and 1,530, but we don't have 1,500. Well, it just so happens to be that 1,500 pounds falls exactly in the middle of those two numbers. So we would just take the average of these two numbers, which gives us 9.9 for our index. Did everybody see that?
Can you go back a tiny bit? I was a little lost. So when you were talking about the cargo aft, so I know you look there depending on where certain bags are. So 1,500 pounds is not on there, you said. So you would interpolate those pounds.
So here's how we figure out the bag weight. 50 bags equals 1,500 pounds. 10 bags equal 300 pounds, right? Here's where we
Yes.
find the index number for our aft cargo. So we know that we have 50 bags in the back, but 1,500 pounds is not on this list anywhere, right? It's somewhere between these two numbers here. We have 1,470 and 1,500, or 1,530, I'm sorry, but we don't have 1,500. So we've got to find the average of those two, which would be 1,500 pounds, right?
Okay.
Which means that we also have to find the average of these two numbers to find our index, which would be 9.9 because it's right in the center of those two numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you want to do it on a calculator, you would do 9.7. You would add 10.1 to get 19.8. Then we would take 19.8 and we would divide it by 2, and that gives us 9.9 for our average.
Okay.
Okay?
I get it now.
All right, so 9.9 for our forward cargo. Who wants to figure out the aft cargo? Walk us through it.
Let's see.
1.6.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
how did you find that?
1.6 to forward. I went down to the 300 pounds on the bottom where you have it, and luckily there's a nice round number of negative 1.6.
Perfect. So that negative 1.6 would go here, right?
Yes.
Okay. This observer box is for somebody that's sitting in the jump seat. So let's just say that we don't have anybody sitting in the jump seat. You can see that there's the weight that we account for is 190 pounds and an index of negative 2.3. So we would just transfer, if we had a jump seater or an observer, we would just transfer that weight and index over to here. Does that make sense? Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now we just like on the other sheet, we're going to bring down our positive numbers. That comes to, what, 80.2? Somebody do the math for me. 81.2?
Yeah, 81.2.
Okay. 81.2. Oops. Okay, and the negatives come to, this is a negative here.
Negative 29.6.
Okay. Then we follow this arrow here, right? And we just move it down under here. 29.6. So what's 81.2 minus 29.6?
51.6.
50.
Now that out. You better wait and make sure I did my math right. Yeah, that's what I got again. So if no one else argues, maybe that's right.
All right. It looks right. All right. So let's add these numbers up. So it's 9 here. Let's see, 3. Let's see if I can do simple math, right? Simple addition. 888. Oh, that's a 5. So 16, 21, 24. Right, carry the 2. 6, 7 pounds here. And then 5. So we've got a 0 fuel weight of 57,439 pounds. Are we below the 62,300 pounds?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. We can keep moving forward. Okay, now for fuel, let's just say, so there's a basic way that we figure out how much fuel, and I want you guys to write this down and memorize it because we're going to use it in flight planning. This is how we figured out like an estimated flight plan for fuel. So let's just say that we're flying from let's see. Oh man, this might be fun. Yeah, I'm not doing too good with that today. Okay, let's just say we're flying Salt Lake. So our departure is Salt Lake City, and we're landing in LAX, Los Angeles. Okay. And let's say that we figure out our flight plan, and let's just, for kicks and giggles, let's draw it up really quick. Just kind of zoom in here. We'll just, this is going to be really rough, so we're not going to like figure out our SID or star or anything like that. So anyways, let's say that our flight plan is something like that, okay? Pretty direct flight plan. Okay. That comes to over here, we can take our speed, and the speed that we kind of flight plan to would be 400 knots, just to get a rough estimate, okay? So when we plan 400 knots there, it gives us an estimated time en route and a distance, right? So we can take that 1 hour and 54 minutes and get a basic fuel weight, okay? And to do that, what we do, now we're going to get, this is going to be extremely basic. For the CRJ 700, we say that the first hour we burn 4,000 pounds of fuel. So this is what I want you guys to memorize. This is our first hour, okay? Since we're not using this section of the chart, I can write this here. Second hour, and every hour after, we burn an average of 3,000 pounds per hour. Okay? Everybody write that down and memorize it. Now, some of you might be saying, but Garrett, that flight is 1 hour and 54 minutes. How do we figure out how much fuel 54 minutes comes to? Because it's not a full hour. So the way we figure that out is it's the second hour, right? So we're going to use that 3,000 pounds per hour, okay, figure, because it's not within that first hour. The flight is longer than 1 hour. So we'll use that second hour. We'll use that second hour number to get our answer. So the way we do that is we take 3,000. How many minutes are in an hour?
60.
Okay. We divide that by 60. That gives us 50 pounds per minute. Okay. Take that 50 pounds and we multiply that by 54 minutes because we have 54 minutes. What does that come to?
2700.
2,700 pounds. Then we add our first hour of fuel burn. Gives us 6,700 pounds of fuel. Does everybody understand what we just did there?
It might, as an alternate approach, I mean, I'm not sure I see your way, but I just did 53/60ths as a percentage times the 3,000, you get 2,700.
That's what I did too.
If you got the same number, I'm not going to mess with your equation. You guys are more advanced than I am. I got to bring it all the way down to basic because I'm horrible with math. My least favorite subject. Okay. So for 67,000 pounds, we're just going to transfer it here.
6,700.
Sure, 6,700, yeah. Not flying a 747 here. All right, 6,700 pounds. Then to find the index, we're going to go to the fuel index here. Here's our fuel index. Does everybody see that? And we get to do some more interpolation. So there's where our two numbers are. Our number lies between these two, right? Here, I'll try to clean it up. There, those two numbers. So it's the difference between a point. We're going to penalize it more, okay? We're just going to go to the next higher number, which would be 7,000 pounds. Since it's only a point, like 0.1 away from each other, we're not going to do a negative 2.75. We're going to keep it a little more basic than that. So negative 2.8 for our fuel index. Does everybody see how I got that number?
Yes.
Okay. Now we just bring down this 51.6. And move our negative 2.8 over. Okay. Let's do our math here. 9, 3. So we're adding these two, right? 11, carry the 1. It gives us 14. 1. So 64,139 pounds. And our index, I'm not even going to do that.
48.8 is what I got.
48 what?
48.8.
Okay, 48.8. A positive 48.8, right? As you can see here, we can't have a negative index. Okay. Does everybody understand how we got that final number?
Yeah, I understand it. My notes are all scattered, so I'm gonna have to figure it out.
Does anybody have any questions on any of it?
No, sir.
Actually, I have a question, Garrett. So, you know, when we did the aft cargo and we did the average, I was thinking I was going to just say, why can't we just use 10, but then calculate it? But then at the bottom, we didn't have to do an average. So I was just wondering, it was pretty, like this was an exact number, the 9.9 versus the other index that we didn't do for the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Do they normally just round up, or do they always make it the exact number when they're calculating it?
So here's the big difference between the two. I mean, technically we could round this up and it's not going to change our weight and balance figure that much. Probably, most likely not enough to affect whether or not we're in our weight and balance. But my personal preference is I try to be as accurate as I can be with these numbers. So with this one, we had a pretty even split. So 14, you know, the average of 1470 and 1530 comes out to be 1500 pounds, right? And that's exactly what our weight is. So I just took the average of these two numbers to figure that out. Here, that makes it a little bit more difficult, and we don't really go to that hundredths place on the decimal. We just go to the tenths. And so that's the reason why I just penalized it just a little bit more and made it that 2.8 there.
Okay.
So that's the reasoning behind that. Typically with these aft cargo weights, it's going to be like a 40 pound or a 60 pound spread between the two numbers. Does that make sense? Like right here, it's a 60 pound spread. Right here is a 60 pound spread. Oh, it's always a 60 pound spread. So your number is going to be somewhere in between those two numbers. But as long as you're getting close like that, that's what that really matters. Everybody might come up with just a slightly different number, and that's why the FAA says interpolate. You're going to use your best judgment to figure out that weight and balance. So, yeah. Does anybody these are good questions. I like that you guys are talking a lot tonight. That's refreshing.
I mean, you'd be hard pressed to get any more accurate using this grid below to place yourself anyway.
Yeah. So once again, this is the chart that we're going to be looking at for takeoff and landing. We have to be within these boundaries when we do our numbers. Okay. So if we end up and our index is way out here at 35 and our final weight is 62,000 pounds, like look how far out that puts us from the envelope. We're going to have to figure out how to bring that into the center here. Does that make sense? So the way we figure out where we land in this grid is we take our takeoff weight here, 64,139. We come up to our 64,000. You guys see that? Okay. And we're just going to get as close as we can. We got 64,000 pounds here, 66,000 pounds right above it. So it's this is 65,000 pounds, right? So we're just going to be like right on that line, basically. We're going to take it over to our index, which is 48.8. Come down here, find 48.8, 48.8. So we're basically going to be somewhere about right here for our takeoff. Is that within that red zone, that area A that you see there?
You said area A.
Is it? Well,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying
sorry.
I'm
Yes.
saying it in this red area. So we're within center of gravity, right? We're within our weight and balance envelope. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you can say this kind of talks about the area A. You know, this section. What happens if you're in that section? So it says weight and when the takeoff weight and index of zero fuel weight and the index fall in the area A, verify visual inspection that the passengers are evenly distributed about each of the passenger zones. So all it's saying is that they want, you're kind of pushing the limits of the aircraft. They just want to make sure that our passengers here are evenly distributed. So let's say we're kind of on this side of the graph. We would want to add a positive amount in order to bring us into the center of gravity limit, or I mean the weight and balance limit. So if it's available, what did we say? The positive can only be on this side. So if we had 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 throughout the cabin, what we could do to bring that number up is we could take 2 from zone A and move it to zone E, move them to zone E. And so taking 2 away from zone A takes us from index of 16.0 down to an index of 12.8. So what's the difference there? That's what, 3.2? So we just added 3.2, right? And then we put them in zone E and went from 10 passengers there to 12 passengers. Okay. So 3.8 plus 2.8, that gives us a movement of 6.8, a positive 6.8 movement. Let's see how much. So we said 35 here, right? Or no, let's say that they're in this zone A somewhere. Let's just say that they're right here in zone A or area A. With that 6.8 movement, look at what it does to our CG here. Just moving 2 passengers from the front to the back. We're about right here. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.8. That moves us into the envelope comfortably. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing that 2 passengers can have that big of an impact on our weight and balance?
Yeah, light aircraft, it's even worse. You kind of have to ask yourself, did I bring my comb and toothbrush, and where did I put them? So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we got to think about when we're doing our weight and balances. What can I do if we fall outside this zone? What can we do to bring it back into this zone? If we're exceeding the max takeoff weight of the aircraft, the only thing we can do is bump passengers or take fuel off the aircraft, right? And do you think any captain in the world is really going to want to take fuel off?
No, so their only option is bump a passenger or 2.
Right. Most likely, they're going to be bumping passengers before they start dipping into their reserve or hold fuel, right? I mean, it would take like an absolutely perfect day weather-wise for a captain to feel comfortable lowering their contingency or hold fuel. And that just,
So Garrett, at that point, so the captain maybe does decide to consider that, does he actually tie you back in to modify the flight plan, or does he just say, okay, I know I'm dipping into my reserves?
yeah, it would probably take us rerunning fuel numbers and performance. So if we, as a dispatcher, if the pilot calls up and says, look, I'm over my max takeoff weight, well, we would know when we're doing the dispatch release, like, we can see the weight of the aircraft. The index he's going to worry about, right? The index, he'd just say they're outside this envelope, somewhere over here. He would tell the flight attendant, hey, go move 2 people from zone A and 2 people from zone B into zones E and D to get us into center of gravity, and the flight attendant would go move those people. We're going to know what the weight is. Say we come up, our total numbers exceed the max takeoff weight or the max performance weight of our aircraft. What we're going to do is, if it's like, hey, Captain, we've got to bump, 5 passengers or take 10 minutes of contingency or hold fuel off the aircraft, we'd call them and talk to them at that point. And we'd have to have a good case for even requesting us to lower the amount of fuel. We'd basically have to say, look, it's 10 and clear the entire trip, the entire flight. If we take 10 minutes off, you still have 50 minutes of reserve fuel left. Is that something you're comfortable with doing so that we can carry the 5 extra passengers? Or would you rather remove the 5 extra passengers and bump them in order to bring us down below our max takeoff weight or max performance weight? And you'd have to kind of like let the let the captain call the shot, But I'll tell you right now, captains, if anything, want more fuel. You tell a captain that they're going to be coming in at 2,000 pounds, they start sweating. So
I've had every time I open up the fuel panel door, I always see the. Sometimes I'll see that each side of the wings have like 800 pounds left in each wing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, pilots don't like that. Typically, SkyWest pilots, they want to see in a CRJ, they want to see 2,000 pounds. That's the number that they're comfortable. Like anything less than that, even when they get to that 2,000 pounds, they start freaking out.
Yeah, they teach you the only bad kind of fuel is the kind on the ground.
Right. It's a true story, and I don't blame them one bit for wanting more fuel. But at the same time, we've got to be reasonable with our fuel, right?
We've also seen them, pulling bags and relocating, and a lot of bag movement and that kind of thing too on flights before.
Yeah. And there's times where the pilot can say, look, we're going to have to put cargo on a later flight or something, on the next flight going in. We're going to have to take so much cargo off. There's ways to get around the weight penalties and stuff like that. Ways to get back within our operating weights. But still, we need to. The point I'm trying to make is that we would need to look at the options and talk it over with the pilot and see what they're comfortable doing and what they, where their head's at. We can't just say, oh, do you know what? These 5 people got to get home. So I'm gonna take 10 minutes of reserve fuel off. That's just, it wouldn't fly, you know?
So also, I mean, I'm in an aircraft sitting there in the seat, and I see him hand in the manifest, and it gets pushed into the cabin, and so they're looking at that manifest, and I'm not sure what on their flight systems they do with it. But at that point, I mean, it seems like a pretty short turnaround period that, okay, slam the door, we're out of here. I guess that means it's good, but
Yeah.
it seems like pushback times, I mean, it's a tight thing, and that how fast would you have to recompute and get it back to them? I mean, and still make the pushback and all that.
Well, it goes pretty quick. So what happens is we'll know if they're overweight, right? We'll know that 60 to 90 minutes before the flight. That's when we're supposed to be filling out the release and sending it in. You know, they kind of, our policy is that we can't have a release if we go past 60 minute window before the flight, before the pushback time of the flight, then we're late. So we want to be sending the release to the captain between 60 and 90 minutes before the flight even takes off. We want to send it to the gate, sorry. So that being said, we'll know 60 to 90 minutes before the flight whether or not we're over that max takeoff weight, and we'll already be talking to the pilot. What gets handed to the pilot, what you see the rampy come up and do is they'll hand them where they put the bags. Like, we put 50 bags in the aft cargo and 20 bags in the forward cargo. That's what he's handing him. And then on SkyWest flights, the flight attendant they'll do a walk through the cabin, and they'll count the passengers in each one of the zones and fill out that PIN card. Then they take it up to the captain, and the captain plugs it into his ACARS, says, this is our PIN for passengers, this is where the bags are loaded, and this is what we've got. If the ACARS come back and says that he's within his weight and balance, we're good to go, shut all the doors, let's get out of here. But if he needs to add ballast to the forward cargo, or remove passengers, or not remove passengers, but move passengers from one section to another, things like that, they have to stop everything and do that before they can even push back from the gate. They have to return, or they have to see on their ACARS that they're within that weight and balance of the aircraft. Anything over, they have to stop everything that they're doing and correct it before they can move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you got a ramp that's handing you the load, the baggage load, and the flight attendant's doing the count or whatever's got the passenger load distribution. Those two go to him, and you're only going to know from the ACARS whether you've got a thumbs up or an issue.
Right, and he can see, like, he'll be provided, once he types in the PIN, the passenger index and the baggage, he'll know right off the bat what has to happen, as far as, like, okay, we've got to move passengers to the back, or he'll tell the ramp agent, okay, we need to move some of the bags from the front cargo to the back cargo, things like that. He'll know pretty quick, and he can, talk to the ramp agent, say, hey, move 30 bags to the front, or wherever it has to go to get within that center of gravity, or the weight and balance. So he knows pretty quick. The computer automates it. He doesn't have to go through all of this manual stuff that we just did right here. The computer does all that for him. He just has to punch in the indexes that it comes up with for passenger. He'll have to punch in the passenger index and the cargo index, and then once he has that, we already know how much fuel is going to be on there. We already know the weight of the passengers. We already know the probable weight of the bags, right? Or we already know the bag weight. Sorry, I'm making a mess on there. Because we know what bags were checked in, right? We don't count carry-on bags. Carry-on bags are automatically put on with the passenger weights. So we just need to know what's underneath the airplane, or we already know what's underneath the plane, and we already know how much passenger weight we have. All he's getting from the flight attendant are the indexes, these indexes right here. And if it comes back good, then they close the door and get out of there. So we'll hopefully never have to bump somebody. Now it happens, but it's for things that happen in that 60 minutes before the flight that are out of our control. Say weather moves in and all of a sudden our performance is, the performance of our aircraft requires a longer fuel burn, or we've got to reroute or something like that. Hopefully at that point they won't have boarded the passengers, but there's times where, something will happen outside of our control and they'll have to pull passengers off the airplane.
Yeah, you hear it all the time. We're taking passengers, volunteer passengers today to take another flight. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, let's take our lunch break. Let's just plan on being back 7:50. All right, is everybody back?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I found a possible solution to the printing problem. Let's see. Just had it up.
My roommate will be home any minute, and then I'll be able to print them out.
So if you guys have an Adobe Acrobat reader, just download if you go on here, and then up here where it has this download button, click that download button and then try to open it up in Adobe Acrobat or PDF reader, and you should be able to.
So what? Edit it.
Yeah. So to edit it, all you have to do is click on the right side. There should be a little thing that says fill and sign. Click on that button and you should be able to like I can click on here and I can type. Like I can type 52 there. I can type, anyways. You guys see that?
On the little, like the arrow down, or?
So let's see.
The download button is basically.
What was that?
The down arrow is the download button.
Yeah, the little down arrow in the top right corner. That should be your download button.
Okay, and then I'll click on it.
Does it open it up in Adobe Acrobat?
Heck, I don't know. It has the same appearance.
So right click on it here when you're on here.
Let me go to. Okay, yeah. Let me.
What is that?
Oh, right here. So it opens up and it looks kind of like that. If you right click and save as and save it to your desktop, you should be able to open it. When you open it up, it should open up in an Adobe Acrobat or something, a PDF viewer.
Okay, I have PDF file.
Okay, yeah. So all you have to do is there should be like a fill and sign button on the right side or the left side. Just look for something that says fill and sign. And you should be able to, type and stuff like that, using that information or using that tool there.
Fill and sign. Let's see. Loading.
Oh, I got it.
Did it work? Is it working?
How it works. I got the little pen like how you have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna do it on paper though.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can only go on Word. That's the only place I could put it. So I don't know if it's gonna work.
Even if you can like open it up in Paint, in the Paint application that should be on every computer, if you can open it up in that and just do it on there, that'll help quite a bit. I just want you, and if you can't print it out or you can't load it up with those instructions I just went through, um, just manually write the numbers in. Just follow along with a piece of paper and just manually write the numbers in. And
Enable.
huh?
Nothing. I'm trying to click enable editing, but now it's saying that I have to subscribe to Microsoft.
Right. Don't do enable editing. Do fill and sign. Fill and sign doesn't require an extra subscription.
I'm just gonna print it out. I think she got home, so I'm just gonna print it out real quick. But just continue it out, and then I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
All right.
Sorry for holding you up.
No, you're good. You're good. Does everybody else have a copy?
I just did what you said, the open it up in the Adobe Acrobat and it's working. So
Okay. Perfect.
now if I can just remember how to do it all, we're going to be good.
So, let me see. I'm going to pick out an aircraft and everything here. All right. So there's the information that I want you guys to use. Everybody write it down. I'll even put it in the notes down below. Oh, I need fuel.
What does that say? 20 what bags? What does it say bags?
20 bags forward. So 72 bags in the aft, 20 bags forward. All right, everybody got it? It's in the comments section of the chat window. If not. Okay. I'll do mine. Does everybody have a way to fill it out on their own and figure it out?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I want you guys to go through, figure out the weight and balance, and then when you're done, let's see. When you're done, just put a message saying done. I'll wait for everybody to get done, and then we'll go through and we'll review it. I want you guys to just, with the passengers, start in the front and max it out. Does that make sense? So the zone A can hold 12 people, put 12 people in it, and just spread them out that way. Does that make sense?
Do you want us to use winter or summer?
Winter. We're currently in winter weights, so we'll just stick with winter. So when you're done, just type done in the message box below and in the chat. That way I'll know that you guys are done. Word?
I was just thinking I might need to come back and reference this if I have questions.
Oh man, I'm really sorry about that.
That's okay.
We'll do it again, I promise. Right after this. So,
Or if you could even just read through the steps that you took for the numbers we already have, that would even work too.
okay. So let's get our zero fuel index down here, and then I'll go back through and re-explain how we've gotten to this point.
Cool.
Okay. So what is our zero fuel weight?
Yeah,
60907.
Oh man. 60907.
60907. Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. So we've reached our zero fuel weight. Okay. Once again, I'll just kind of go through and highlight where we're finding these numbers. So to find out, so I gave you guys 65 passengers with 2 children, which give us a total of 67 passengers. In order to find the adult weight, we have to go over to here. We are in the winter months right now. As you can see, the winter is November 1st through April 30th. So that's when we use this winter weight chart right here. Okay. So to find that, we'll take our 65 adults and come down this chart to 65, and that gives us our weight for 65 adults, which comes to 12,675 pounds. Now to find the weight of our children, we come to the children box here and we go to our winter weights because once again we're still in that date range. That gives us 87 pounds per child. So all we do is we take 87 pounds, multiply it by 2 to give us a total of 174 pounds. That gives us our passenger weights, which equal a total of 12,849 pounds that you can see right there. Now, to find out the index for the passengers there, we come down to this chart. I told you guys to load the plane front to back. So what I mean by that is we're going to max out each one of these zones. Each one of these zones can hold 12 passengers. And then this last zone can hold up to 10. We know that the CRJ 700 can only hold 70 passengers. We have 67 passengers. So we start at the front, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, and then that gives us 60. We have 7 passengers left over. We put them in the very back. That gives us our total of 67 passengers. So with that information, in order to get our index number, we have to come down here to our passenger index table. So we loaded the plane from front to back. So that being said, each one of these zones we know holds 12 passengers. And this last zone, we had our last 7 passengers. So we come down, zone A had 12 passengers. So that is our index for zone A. Likewise for zone B, C, D, and E. Now zone F, we had 7 passengers. So that is our index for zone F. Now that we have those numbers, we plug them into our pin. As we can see here, negative 19.2, negative 13.9, 85, 31, 28, and 48. We'll take the running total of the negative index and put it right here. Then we'll take the running total of our positive index and put it right here. Then all we do is we move our positive index underneath our negative index here. Just follow the arrow and then get our total passenger index right here. Now with that number, we plug it in. So we take this weight here, put it here, and then we take our passenger index number, the pin, and put it there. Does everybody see how we got to that point?
Yes.
Okay. Oops.
I don't know why that was so hard for me to follow the first time. Second time I got it, like it clicked.
Yeah, it's the first couple times you do this, it's really gonna be hard to follow. And but it's pretty intuitive at the same time. Once you do it once or twice, it's like clockwork, you know?
Yeah. I think I might have just psyched myself out.
All right. So Now that we have our, we've taken our totals here and we've just moved them down to here. Now we need to figure out the bow weight and index of our aircraft. To find that, the aircraft that I gave you guys was November 730 Sierra Kilo. So we just take this aircraft here. It gives us our bow weight and our index numbers right there. Does everybody see that? So all we have to do is transfer those numbers up onto this sheet right here. So now we've covered our first two boxes, weight and pin, or weight and index, I'm sorry, right there. Now we've got to figure out how much cargo we're putting into the aircraft, right? So in order to do that, I told you that we would have how many bags in the front?
72.
Okay, 72 bags in the front. So all we do is we come to the average bag weights chart. We find our 72, and that gives us our weight, which is 21,060 pounds. Then once we have our 21,060 pounds for our aft cargo, so we put all those bags in the back, we come over here to the cargo aft chart and look for our 2160. Our 2160 falls between those two lines. So we have to interpolate as the FAA says. So 2160 falls right smack dab in the middle of those numbers. We find the average. It gives us an average of 14.3 for our index. So we just put our weight of 2160 in this box and that index in that box. Then we just rinse and repeat for our forward cargo weights. Once again, come to the average bag weight, find the 20 pounds, which is, 20 bags, which equals 600 pounds. Put it there. Then we come to our forward cargo section, go down to the 600 pounds, and that gives us our index of negative 3.2, which we put into that box. Now we just run a total of all of the boxes right here and just bring that information down here. So these, we add up our positives to give us that 86.1. We add up our negatives to give us the 40.3. We move our negative 40.3 down here and just bring our total down. Is everybody clear on how we've gotten to this point?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, that being said, now so all of that information gives us our max zero fuel weight. Gives us our zero fuel weight and index. Our max zero fuel weight is 62,300 pounds. So we have to verify that our weight here is not over that 62,300 pounds. If it is, that means something's got to go. We got to take bags off the plane, passengers, whatever we have to do to get that number below. We are not legal to dispatch if we're over our max zero fuel weight. Right there. Everybody see it?
Yeah, what do you start does it matter, like, is there like a priority of things that you take off first? Like, obviously you don't want to kick passengers off, like, but like what goes when you're over?
Um, we try really
Sorry,
hard.
that sounded really
No,
confusing.
No,
Like,
no, it's fine. So we try really hard, and Jordan can probably attest to how hard it would be to get a passenger that's already boarded an aircraft off the airport.
Yeah, you've heard of Dr. Dow.
Oh yeah,
You take them off and then they come right back on.
yeah,
I've seen some crazy airline passenger videos, I can only imagine.
And he was not caring for his patients because he wasn't going to make that flight. Yeah, it was dramatic. He deserves an acting award at best.
Right.
Yeah,
man.
United's learned their lesson about pulling off passengers now. They've changed a lot of things internally so that doesn't happen again. They don't ever let them on to begin with.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It gets really nasty, especially like in today's world where everybody has a phone, everybody has a want to. Like everybody is just crazy Sue happy, right? So they're going to find any way they can to get that $1 million settlement from United.
Right.
Like I recently saw a video, I guess it wasn't too recently, it was about a year ago, of a passenger that, I mean, it's a direct violation of the FAR. They were taxing the aircraft. Well, when you're taxing an aircraft, everybody it's considered a critical phase of flight, right? So everybody has to stay seated in their seatbelts. Well, this passenger, even though he knew that, decided to unbuckle and go to the bathroom. Well, when he got back to his seat, they had already started heading back to the gate. They got back to the gate and they said, "Sir, you're going to have to come with us. You're going to have to get off the plane." And he refused and refused and refused. And finally, they were able to talk him off the plane. Well, now he's and you can see the video on the internet. Well, now he's suing the airline because he felt like, he was treated unfairly. So,
Oh.
Wouldn't it come just to bite him back in the butt? Because if it's a FAR rule, well then he can't argue that in court.
well, so it's the same with removing a passenger off of an aircraft for the safety of flight issues. So, we all saw the United video of the guy that they had to forcefully remove him from the aircraft, and then he ran back on all bloodied and battered and got that $1 million settlement, right? It says in the FARs that the pilot has the right to remove anybody from the aircraft. So, and then any gate agent can tell you that if you ever go running down a jet bridge after you've been taken off of an aircraft or you've deplaned at all, even if you forgot something, if you go running down that jet bridge, that's asking to get tackled by a security guard,
Yeah.
But still,
I was on a United flight in traveling from San Francisco somewhere locally in California, and we had a real strange guy that kept unbuckling and getting up, and the flight attendant sternly told him several times he still wouldn't do it, and it got ugly. It ended up a couple of passengers, big guys, helped muscle him into the chair, and it went on for like a half hour. It was high drama. It's crazy.
Who makes the decision that things are gonna go? Is that us? Like that things have to go off the plane?
It's a joint call. The pilot in command and the dispatcher kind of make that decision.
And then we send Jordan in to do the dirty work. That my understanding.
I I've only had to do that once. A few months ago, had to remove a passenger off of a flight, and it's a miserable thing to do because it's just a mess, and everybody has their phone out and their Twitter ready to tweet, but ultimately the captain asked for the flight attendant's opinion in our case because the door was closed and we had pushed back, and the captain made a final decision, and we went back and they had to have customer service representative and security come on, and they remove them, and hopefully they go peacefully.
Yeah. But I mean, it's
Goodness.
crazy. It is literally insane in today's world how serious it is. I mean, there is literally no government backing, and you got to look at it this way too. The airlines are making billions of dollars a year, right?
Hmm.
So to save face, $1 million is a drop in the bucket. It's a big drop, but it's still technically a drop in the bucket. And to save face and to kind of bed it down so that it doesn't become too big of an issue, and really to save money in the court system, like to the airline, it's more advantageous just to pay out, right? But
That's a total PR settlement, not a procedural settlement.
exactly.
Insurance
Oh,
in
for
most
sure.
cases, because I'm of the opinion Jordan should be able to grab a stun gun and drop the guy and move on. Ridiculous.
And Garrett mentioned, Dr. Dow got $1 million settlement. Well, they actually estimate internally that he got between 25 and $35 million, and he doesn't seem to have been, charged with anything criminally, as far as I know.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing to me is that there's literally no support or backing. The FAA is like, yeah, we made this law that the pilot has the right to remove anybody from the aircraft, but then when it comes, when the rubber meets the road, the FAA is the last person to raise their hand and say, yeah, that's kind of on us. He was well within his rights as a pilot. So that's what's baffling to me about the whole scenario. But that's kind of a different story. It's at the end of the day, it is really difficult and really scary when it comes to I'm sure it's very scary for Jordan having to go and remove that passenger, let alone having to have security come on the aircraft, or and the customer service representative come onto the aircraft and try to talk them off the plane. These people are trying to get home to their families, and so that's kind of our last resort. But there are times where it's necessary. So we'll try to remove baggage.
United did do a really good job in my situation. After they restrained him in the seat, he was the first to deplane with the security detail, and then they rewarded the 2 passengers that helped with a free flight. So they did a kind of a bang up job, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
So we do this before the flight goes out, and then do we have to do it again once everybody's on the plane?
so the pilot's the one that does the load manifest. He does it on his ACARS.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the pilot. So when we're doing our flight planning, we're gonna know how many passengers are expected to be on board. We're gonna know the amount of baggage that has already been checked in at the gate, or not at the gate, but the amount of checked baggage that's going to be on the aircraft because everybody's checked in, right?
Uh-huh.
And we know how much fuel it's going to burn, so we can see if we're overweight, if we're over our weights. So before we even send the release, typically we're going to know, if we're overweight, or if we're going to have to bump passengers, or what we're going to have to do. At that point, we would contact the pilot and we would talk it out. Basically, we'd say, look, we're overweight by 1,500 pounds. What do you want to do? On like a clear sunny day where there's no weather that's going to be encountered en route, there's times that we can kind of talk them down, to say, look, I know it's your reserve fuel and everything, but it's perfect weather today. Can we take 1,000 pounds of fuel off of your reserve, or whatever it is, And you still have to have that a reserve, but we can kind of reduce it if in the pilot and command, and in our opinion, it doesn't affect the safety of flight. So that's one option. Another option is to possibly move the bags, remove bags, and send them on a later flight. It still pisses off the customers, but at least they're getting to their destination, right?
Right.
We just got to talk about it with the pilot. A lot of times, if they have to bump passengers for weight reasons, they'll offer, hey, we've got vouchers at the gate agent's desk. If you're willing to get on a later flight, we'll give you $500 in Delta money, for a later flight.
Oh, that's cool.
So those are the kind of things that they'll do to kind of get passengers to give up their seats willingly.
To ease attention.
Right. But it doesn't always mean that it's going to go over well. We try to prevent it, try to make it last, absolutely the last resort to mandatorily remove passengers off an aircraft. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that the flight is safe, or the flight can operate safely as well. So, but when we're dispatching, this is what we're going to know. These are the numbers we're going to know, right? The pilot, once he gets in the aircraft and once the passengers have boarded, this is what he puts in. This is the part of the load manifest that he puts in. Okay. So we know the weights for the most part. His job is to go in and put the index and make sure that he's in the center of gravity. So typically, if it means that we're moving passengers, it should be long before the flight departs. But if the passengers have boarded and he's outside that CG limit, then he'll go and tell, we keep picking on Jordan, but he'll go tell Jordan, hey, I need you to move 6 passengers from A to D and E. Spread them out evenly, to bring that CG back in.
Okay.
So, does that make sense?
Yes.
So hopefully before the flight even boards, we've already resolved the weight issue. Then it's up to the captain to make sure that he's within the weight and balance of the aircraft.
Gotcha. So we do the initial work, and it's up to him to just kind of double check it, basically?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, all right. So we've gotten to this point. Time's flying tonight. Always goes faster when you're having fun. So you guys are actually able to participate now instead of just, lectures about systems and, kind of makes the time go faster.
And it's easy to remember stuff when you're
interacting.
Interacting with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So what was the fuel weight that we came up with?
10,200.
Right. Okay. And how do we figure out our fuel index?
You go in between 10,000 and 10,000 and 10,500. It gives you, so pretty much your index would be negative 2.2 because you're having to go in the middle.
Okay. Good. So we just put that here. Sorry, I am slightly OCD.
You're doing amazing. I did my first one on like you're doing. It's very challenging to do it inside that PDF.
Yeah.
I feel like a first grader trying to put it in.
This looks a lot better than my chicken scratch on that first one too.
Mine's chicken scratch.
So
when you get it, you're just going to have to trust me that it says what yours says.
no worries. Okay, so that gives us our we've got all of that information up to this point, right? Now we just got to get our totals. So what is our total weight here with the fuel?
71,007 pounds. Wait, no, sorry.
7.
Is that right?
Let's see, 60.7 plus 10, so
70.
it'd be 71,107.
Okay. And 45.8. 45.8 minus 2.2.
43.6.
43 point what?
6.
Okay.
Question, what number do you put in next to the 10,200 on the plus index?
We don't put anything on the plus index because this is our fuel index, right?
Okay.
We've got this number up here already, okay? And then we put in our fuel index that we pulled from here in there. Once that's there, we can move it down underneath our index from our zero fuel, and then put our total down here.
I guess I'm from what he's asking, I might get that as you go down this fuel index, there are zones that are positive. So it would then be in that left side as opposed to the right side based on how the fuel, I guess, distributes.
Right. So if the fuel distributes somewhere in this range, then that's where you would put that positive number. But anything outside of those weights right there needs to go in here because it's a negative index, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now we have all this information. That's good and all, but where does it put us on our CG?
Center of gravity. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Oops, hold on. Let's see.
So this is when you use the graph, right?
Yep. That is gigantic. Why is that so big? Guess we'll use it. Oh, hey. That's why, it's because my mouse is so big. Okay. So we're going to go to this.
for your benefit, I think the only time I needed that huge mouse was on the real dense maps. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure that big mouse is driving me absolutely bananas.
Oh, it is. But it's also good when we're doing this kind of stuff, because then you guys can kind of follow along and see where where I'm looking, right? So
Yes.
we'll draw a line on our weight here, right?
It barely puts us right next to the area A graph, or right on the edge, or almost on the edge.
So then we come up from our 43.6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if I can rotate this. Nope. All right. Basically, it puts us.
It is a giant.
Yeah. Puts us somewhere right there. Right? Did everybody get that?
Yeah.
Where did the 7 point? Is that the 71.8 number? No, wait.
Oops.
The numbers you're using on the left is your pounds, but it's displayed in single digits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
our weight here is times 1,000.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So 71, we're looking at the
So we're
in between
looking
the 70 and the 72. Okay.
Yeah, we're looking in between there, and then for our index, that 43.6,
That
we're going to
bottom
come out
number.
here
Okay.
to 1, 2, 3. We're going to be somewhere right there, right?
Yep.
Maybe just over a little bit. So, I mean, actually, we're going to end up like right there somewhere. If we draw that line straight up, we're going to end up about right there. Does everybody see that?
Yeah. Now I'm kind of wishing I had a printout instead of my phone so I could like lay something over it, draw the lines together.
Yeah. So we are within our CG. What could we possibly do to bring that CG aft a little bit if we wanted to?
I did that because mine looked kind of pretty close, so I just moved a couple passengers to the EF, and it threw it to 45.4. So it moved that CG further aft.
So you moved them from Zone A to Zone F?
Zone E and F, just to kind of like
spread them out.
figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. I think there was only room in Zone F left, right?
Okay, so quick question: if even if you're within the envelope, do you still have to make them go in the middle, or is that just if you want to?
If a pilot, I'll just tell you what, if a pilot saw that he was in CG, so even if he's in this area on the edges, in this area A, pilot's just going to be like, we're good. As long as he's in when he lands as well. So the way we would figure that out is we would just take our fuel here. If we wanted to know what our landing weight and index was, is we just take our fuel when we land, our landing fuel. So we do 45 minutes of reserve fuel and then 15 minutes of hold. Say we have 45 minutes reserve, 15 minutes of hold, which equals an hour. So let's just say that there's 3,000 pounds left of fuel. Oops. 3,000 pounds left of fuel when he lands. So this is how you figure out the landing index, right? We just take that number. We're going to put it down here too. So That gives us 63,907. And then we take our index. Our index is, let's see, our fuel index puts us at negative 1.8, right? So we go, and you get, this is something that you guys will do as well when you're flight planning, is you need to know what that you're going to be in still when you land. So this is exactly what you guys would do, is will be doing, is you'll come in and you'll change that ramp fuel to your landing, how much fuel you'd have when you're landing. And let's see. So that comes out to 45.8 minus 1.8 gives us 44.0. Okay. And then we just draw that. We'd put that dot on our graph. So 44.0 puts us, it actually moves us more within the CG. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
So it puts us about right chair. Oops. So we can see that we stay within CG. If a pilot sees that he stays in CG from takeoff to landing, he's going to be good with it. Doesn't matter if it's like right on the edge there. If the pilot's like right there, doesn't matter. He's in CG. We're good to go. You got to remember that these CG limits are conservative limits, right? The aircraft technically could probably hold more than that. That 75,000 pounds that you see there. The aircraft could probably go a little outside these areas as well and still function. It's just going to affect our flight performance-wise a little bit. You know, we may burn a little more fuel, or we may get a little more efficient cruise, but it may be a little harder to for the pilot to you know, like his flight controls may be a little more stiff, you know, but they wouldn't put these CG limits in the areas that they're in unless they were 100% sure that the aircraft can function safely at those points. Does that make sense? I'll tell you right now. My dad is 600, or I mean, no, he is not 600. He is.
I'm sorry, what?
My dad is 6'7" and about 330 pounds, and I'm 6'4" and weigh about 270. And in a 172, that's like above max structural weight of the 172. But you know that I've taken my dad up in a 172. You know, like, you just want to be extremely careful, right? These pilots, these numbers are conservative.
Yeah, if I remember from the job I had, I think it's 2.5 on the factor. They have a 2.5 safety factor. So
yeah. So if a pilot sees that he is anywhere inside this CG, he's going to be like, all right, we're good to go. Let's go. Close the door. Give the passengers their brief. Him and his first officer start doing the checklist, and then they're out. So,
a couple questions. I just want to make sure that are we gonna get on Monday to study our exam? Because
Yeah,
we didn't get.
we didn't get to it tonight, so we will study it on Monday, and we'll take the
Okay.
test. We'll take the test on Tuesday. So
Okay, and also what was it? Oh yeah, what were the what were the you said like you have to take 4,000 pounds for the first hour and then 3,000 pounds the second hour. What was that you were saying?
So that's to average our fuel burn. Oops. So we have to have bar H on our aircraft, right? Burn, alternate, reserve, and hold. So the way we figure out how much for a rough estimate on our burn is we just kind of average it out to 4,000 pounds for the first hour. I need you to write this down. We'll go over it again, but I really need you to write it down. Okay. First hour, 4,000 pounds. Second hour, and so anything second hour to the 8th hour, I don't think we can stay airborne for 8 hours in the CRJs, but second hour or more, we just calculate 3,000 pounds. So say our flight is 1 hour and 54 minutes, right? What we would do is we'd take our first hour, which is 4,000, and then we would add that to our second hour fuel to get this second hour to figure out how many pounds that 54 is. We take 3,000. I'll tell you my way. Jordan and Greg can tell you their way. They're a little smarter than I am. So so I just take 3,000 pounds and divide it by 60. That comes to 50 pounds per minute. PMP. Okay. 50 times 54 equals 2,700 pounds. I believe. I'm just going off of memory. Is that right?
Yeah, you're doing good.
So we'll take this weight right here. We'll add it to the 4,000 pounds. That gives us 6,700 pounds. Okay. So our estimated fuel burn for an hour and 54 minutes of flight, just a rough estimate, would be 6,700 pounds of fuel.
Okay, that makes it kind of more simpler because on the ADX test, it has you memorize the route, fuel burn, and all that stuff. So I guess I can kind of do that kind of math when it comes to the ADX on the questions.
Yeah, I convert everything to per minute because I don't know the formula to do it the other way. And personally, I think I'm too stupid to remember the formula, even if I did know it. So it'd go in one ear, and then a week later, I'd completely forget how to do it. So, anyways.
Okay, well that's it.
Yeah, so have a good weekend. We'll review the test on Monday at the first of class, and then we'll do some more of this weight and balance. We're like a day ahead right now, so we'll do more of this weight and balance. We'll kind of review some of the things that we talked about, and then Tuesday we'll take the quiz. So, yeah.
So just for Monday, just so in case I forget to ask this, I mean, I did a kind of redid part of it to move my CG into those aft seats, but I'm seeing that chart down on the left, alternate method. Is that a way to just move a couple of people? So not for tonight, but just if you could show me how to do that, I think it'd probably be quicker than redoing that chart. So
Yeah, I can show you how to do this. I honestly never use this because for
if you get the fast way, I'll take the fast way. But next time, I don't want to keep doing that.
All right, sounds good. Well, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Okay, thanks everyone.